Good evening. This is Penelope Flynn and the rest of your assassins next door. And that means we've got Nikki, Sonia, Otto, and Cranston. And this is BIPOC Vampire Weekend. So again, we are going to spend our time discussing some of our favorite black, brown, every other indication of vampire that we can in television, film, and literature. Before we get started, as usual, we will talk about the weather. And how is your weather, Nikki?
Our weather here this whole week, like around late in the afternoon, the whole day will be cool and nice and sunny and all. But later in the afternoon, we get thunderstorms, and today is the first day that we've had just a nice sunny day.
All right, nice sunny day.
Hmm.
This is Sonia up in the frozen tundra.
It's not frozen today. It was actually quite pleasant.
Excellent.
Well, they were complaining it was hot. For me, it was pleasant. It hit around the 80s. Right now, it's about 72 and raining, so my sinuses aren't too happy. But yeah,
It's better than.
it's comfortable.
All right, congratulations. And Otto, how's your weather?
I think it was pleasant first and then it got hot. It's
Mhm.
not as hot again. It's about 89 degrees. So I didn't go out much because it was hot. So stayed
Yeah.
inside.
All right. And Cranston, I guess you have some nice weather news, right?
Uh, Tolerable. It was. We had rain every day except today and yesterday. But you never could tell where it was going to come up. It wasn't rain everywhere, but it would start on one side of town, then you leave the rain, and then it would follow you to wherever you went. So, but it's been kept things under 90 all week, so that's been good.
All right. Well, tonight is BIPOC Vampire Night Weekend. It's a Saturday night of BIPOC Vampire Weekend. And it's kind of an interesting holiday-ish observance, we should say, because of course, we have vampires of all stripes from all different countries, continents around the world, but we don't really focus a lot on everyone kind of focuses on the Eastern European concept, Dracula, etc., but not, you know, everybody. So this has been an observance created by those who enjoy diversity in their vampire stories, vampire lore, and that has become um, a an opportunity to talk about our vampires, our favorite vampire films that involve people of color. So this, you see me now, I don't have my fangs, but if you can see, I mean, my background is really messing with me. You see how my horns on, I don't want my fangs because when I have the fangs on, I really can't talk. The spot where I can't really close my mouth appropriately. But I want to get started. Let's talk about some of our favorite vampire lore, our vampire favorite films, books, television shows, and of course, for me, and I will get it started. I'm sure there are things that come before and after, but for me, uh, one of my favorites is Blade. When Blade came out, it was very adult, uh, very action. Wesley Snipes was fantastic in that role as the Daywalker. Dominated the screen, in this wonderful, I mean, ensemble cast that really brought Marvel into the era of rated R. So that is of course one of my favorite vampire you know, films. And I don't know if anybody else is a Blade fan. I know recently there have been some discussion of Ali taking up the banner, but then that kind of fizzled. And I mean, although Mahershala Ali's a wonderful actor, I just don't see Blade being, kind of his ballywick. I think that if Wesley Snipes was, in the physical condition to want to do it, I just don't see anybody else unless we go audition somebody brand new young person straight out the box to make this into their franchise.
Yeah,
And
I think that's the way they should go too, because Marshall Ali is a great actor, but he should be close to 50 about now or something like that, or getting up there. And they could get a body double to do all of the stuff and everything, and go from close-ups to wide angle shots, and nobody would ever notice any difference. But I think it's there are a lot of talented younger actors who I think would be just as good in that part, and they should go with one of them.
You're
And you
muted,
just about
Penelope. You're muted.
we,
I don't
There
know
you
what
go.
yeah.
I don't know what I just touched,
Y-
but I was thinking that with Dr. Karen, that role that they did in the original Blade, I have no idea why they didn't just stay with it, why they got rid of it. Because I really like that role, really like the relationship, the energy between the two characters. I thought it was really well done, and I just hate that they just kind of act like she never existed. I miss that though. But anybody else with any favorites?
Well, the good thing is, I think now that they belatedly, it depends on who you talk to, but you hear it more and more when people relate the history of the MCU, is that they're giving credit to Blade for actually getting things started, showing that they could have a presence on the screen. And that's something that they're kind of reluctant to mention, because I didn't know that, Iron Man usually gets the credit, but Iron Man wasn't until '08. I didn't know it was that
Right.
long before, that came along. So it is good that they are in a way giving somebody their flowers while they can still smell them and all that kind of thing. Um, but I think that they kind of juggled getting this restart done on Blade, considering how many everything else that has been farmed out to somebody else, they're starting over again.
Mhm.
Well, they did it because Marshall Ali came to them. They didn't even have Blade because they didn't know if they could do it right when the subsequent years since they've announced it have proven that they probably can't or couldn't duplicate that magic again or come close. But it was his idea. They said he pitched Marvel to do Blade.
Mm,
So and he's trying I think he's trying to get the same kind of control that Marvel reluctantly gave Ryan Reynolds
mm,
to do Deadpool. And since Deadpool's a success, that kind of helps Marshall um, case that let me push this thing around instead of you guys doing your usual by committee thing.
mhm. I
So
think
there's hope.
we have someone who is passionate about the project, that it's very different than having people who are looking at the bottom line instead of the passion
Hmm.
project. And I'm seeing here in the chat, you have Gary Simmons saying the Blade TV series with Sticky Fingers was terrible. And it was. I think that the problem that I find with the one that Sticky Fingers did, because he was not yet an actor at the very beginning, that it was pretty bad. They didn't even give him seriously enough screen time. And by the time he started to get his feet under him, then it was like the end, and there was no bringing it back. So it's unfortunate. I know a lot of people will decide, oh boy, I want to do this, going to act, but have no idea how much training it takes to be able to do it, the endurance it takes to be able to be there under the lights, listening to people telling you to change something, do something over and over again. It's very difficult. So I'm hoping. I think that Mahershala Ali, again, great actor, but um, they should probably be trying to recast the role of Blade with someone who could really, be in it for like the next 10 years. So that's what I'm looking forward to. does anybody else have any favorites of their vampires, of the diaspora and beyond?
I have one. It's an actor that you have maligned in previous shows, but Eric King as Sonny Toussaint in the short-lived series Kindred the Embraced.
Ah,
He played the child of the lead vampire or the prince of the city, but you didn't know that he. At first, you first thought he was betraying him, and then you found out that he was just being a double agent trying to lure the bad guy, the bad vampire, into um, his final death, which what ended up being his final death. So because the prince wanted him gone, but he couldn't find a way to get him gone. So, and he was a
mm-hmm.
police detective. He was. It was the stereotype where he's the police detective, and his partner is the one who finds is a not human, not in the know, who discovers because who knew that you could find out all about vampires and all of their secrets in the public library.
By reading a book.
Yeah,
Wow.
the show was. They made the mistake of having 90210 writers write about vampires instead of having vampire writers write about vampires.
Mm,
But I found out later that Aaron Spelling was a big geek, that he did play the role playing game that the show was based on.
mm,
And so he trusted his second in command to pull it off, and they didn't. So they were planning to move it to Showtime to do it right, but the lead actor got into a motorcycle and passed away, so that effectively killed the show.
wow. Well, look here. Gary is also in the chat saying he's been enjoying the AIM interview with the vampire series. Now, before we get on to that, I was going to ask you, and having watched Kindred, The Embrace,
Mhm.
is that a show that you would recommend for people?
If you get past the fact that it's vampires 90210, even though it's set in San Francisco, yeah. It would have been helpful if they had told the actors this is based on a game, so there are rules, and then they followed those rules. And let some of the actors know that they were playing historical characters who happened to be vampires. It turned out that one guy that was on the show was a big gamer, and he's the one who snuck and let them know, no, you're playing that Lily Langtry, or yes, you're playing that Daedalus.
Ooh,
There's the reasons why they're doing what they're doing.
cool. All right. All
So,
right.
but
So,
it did bring it had potential.
okay. So again, would you recommend it?
Yeah, watch
Cool.
it. There's a special collector set that has, because there was one episode that didn't air. Even it was very short lived, but it happened around the same time as some of the other stuff happening in real life. So so Fox didn't air that episode. But if
Mhm,
you watch them all and the little featurettes that they included in them, yeah,
mhm,
Gary said it should have been played up as Godfather with fangs. Yeah, that would have been better than
okay.
what they did. Yeah, so
Okay. So
they
I want
just didn't understand their audience, I think.
right, probably, and they probably would have marketed it differently had they been more aware that there's a game and made it, more, integral, to their market.
Right. And Fox was probably the wrong network for it. Yeah, it probably should have gone on something like Showtime at the time.
All right. Well, I'm trying to I was going to finish this up to move on, kind of back actually, to when
Yeah.
Gary was saying I've been enjoying the AMC interview with the vampire series.
Mhm.
I know that you watched that, Sonia, or at least you watched the first season, correct?
Yeah, I watched most of it. Yeah.
Okay.
It
And
was
anybody else?
yeah, I don't
Does
know if
anybody else
anybody
watch
else
it?
got to.
I did not watch it. I didn't have too much of an interest in watching it. But I've heard that there's vampires in it, and they are some black vampires in it,
Mhm.
and it's usually something that I would say would interest me. But I was kind of put off by what they did with the role, and I did not think that the original, what is his name, Louis, that he was, the son of a planter. And I do not understand why this Louis could not have been the son of a planter. Why they have him running a bordello. I think it was offensive.
I never read the original book, but they did not shy away from the issues because he was a. They made him being a black vampire very integral into the role,
I
into
mean,
the
I mean,
story.
and I think that's an important thing. But
Yeah.
in the concept of, especially in a period that's supposed to, in my mind, be post slavery, immediately post slavery, to be selling other people's bodies is very um, distasteful to me.
Well, they moved it up to the 1920s, 1930s. I can't
So
remember a time period, but
I
they
think
moved it up so it wasn't directly there.
even so, even so, to have a black person involved in the sale of other black people, especially women, just did not sit well with me. It was just kind of like when my husband was telling my good friend many years ago that she was saying how much she loved the film Amistad. You say, yeah, well, that guy, he got his freedom, then he went back and became a slave trader. And she's like, oh my gosh, you are the worst. If you tell me some horrible thing like that, but that's what I think of. Like, okay,
Mhm.
well, I'm here and I've got mine, but I'm gonna, make your life wretched. So there we go. But yeah, that's the only thing I think that kept me from watching it. But I mean, do you think the acting is done well? Do you think the storyline is worthy of, individuals who are looking for something that is, BIPOC vampire lovers? Is this a thing for us to dive into?
Yes, for the very reason that they made it. It wasn't that a vampire. Oh, and it's being played by a black actor. This was a black vampire,
Hmm.
where he's facing racism. He's facing all the other things that was going on around that time period in New Orleans, where there were this hierarchy in the society and all of that and all of the stuff that they had to deal with. And Armand, I can't remember. They it was good. It was kind of like when we were watching. It reminded me a lot of watching when we were watching Watchmen, where
Yes.
people didn't realize that there was such. You mean there was racism in New Orleans? Yeah.
Uh,
You mean there was colorism in New Orleans? Yeah.
thing. Yes.
So yeah, so bringing in the history so that people could then go back and research. I
Good.
have not seen the second season yet. I think the second season's dropped. I can't remember.
Good. Good.
Um, but yeah, I have, and then because it's been so long, because of thanks to COVID, I have to go back and rewatch it again before I do watch the second season.
Well, yeah, it's that, and also I think that AMC has kind of been spotty about promoting it and letting people know where to
Hmm.
find it and that kind of thing too. So that's kind of a help, kind of different. But I know people that liked it that I thought they were not going to like it because of the fact that the two that Louis and Lestat are lovers was going to like send a lot of people away. But surprisingly, that didn't seem to bother people. So.
Yeah. And I see
Yeah.
Gary saying in the chat, kind of appending to what we were discussing, that there were black slave owners and black slave owners back in the 1700s. Yes, this we know, but of course, back in the 1700s, it was a little different because we still have indentured servitude, where people could go in, work, and buy their way out. And then when it became an issue of the current invidious type of slave state that we have now, even those people who were, slave holders, those black people who did have slaves, even they were in danger, of being
Mhm.
grabbed and placed into. It became less of, here you are, an immigrant that comes to this country and has indentured servitude, you pay and get out, until they have decided that you as a black person are such criminals and therefore don't have any rights as an individual.
Mhm.
therefore now you are a slave. So it's a very big difference from what slavery, this slave state was in the 1700s and what it became. So yeah, but
And if I remember correctly, in this thing, it he owned the building, and it was kind of like how they handles hair salons in some places where you rent out the space. So he
yes,
was, yeah. So I don't remember. I don't know if he actually. It was more. He made his money more through the gambling, if I recall right. But so the women were renting the space. They would have done it anyway. So he was kind of like a protection.
like
There's
like
safety
strippers,
in numbers.
like strippers, they have to
Yeah.
pay in order to dance at those clubs. A lot of people don't realize that they
Hmm.
use that same type of method that
So
they are.
yeah, I have to
And
rewatch it.
yeah, okay, cool. All right, so I mean, we've been going on talking here and there. Those of us, with Sonia a whole lot, and Cranston jumping in and there. Does anybody else have any favorite vampire um, films, television, novels that they enjoyed? All right, Cranston, do that thing.
Well, this is the one, I guess this would be the original one from the whole list. And I said, okay, somebody was going to mention it before this, but Blackula.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. We have our Blackula fans. I thought that Nikki would be here because I know she liked Black. She thought a lot of it was funny but crazy, zany kind of thing and scary. So yeah, I mean, we've watched Blackula in recent years. And you see it when you're young, you see it one way. When you get a little older, another way. You get a little older, you see it another way. So it's very interesting. One of the things we saw was on Turner Movie Classics that they they put in the trigger warnings for saying words that were uh, epithets for people being gay that were in a inappropriate for the period. Of course, they used it, but inappropriate. But never did it for the N word. So I always wonder why they do that. That they will bring all these other things up, but things that are related to specifically, black people and race, but not just black people. I gotta admit, got some issues with race because some of the things that were said during the Batman television show with things that said about Japanese people with this. I mean, I was kind of like, what the? I mean, I was so stunned that there was no trigger warning for that. And also, like in this thing, no trigger warning for N word, but trigger warning for other things. And so that means they really don't have, their sensitivity readers are extremely poor and that they're only focusing on one thing and not other things. So that concerned me about that seeing Blackula. But other than that, I mean, other things that we liked. In fact, I mean, Cranston, I think you're the one who discussed the fact, you and James, the fact that he never used the term, refers to himself as Blackula. That's the name that Dracula, dumps on him,
Mm-hmm.
disparaging, and that he always uses his prince, his name, Prince, that's the name he uses throughout the film. And that we have to thank for that the actual actor himself, Marshall, for saying, no, this has to be this way, and actually structuring his own role as he
Mm-hmm.
went along. And I think that's why it's a classic now, that it's so much to do with making sure that it was something that would stand the test of time and not give shame to his people. So, I mean, I'm always
Yeah.
liked it. And the older I get, the more, every time I watch it, I like it more.
Yeah, it's a case of an actor who takes the part seriously. So I'm going to do the best job I can doing this, rather than, okay, the check is cleared now, so I can quit, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And he managed to bring a dignity and a pathos to the character that might have been missed if somebody else had done it. The second movie was that usually the thing about diminishing returns, that you're going to do. You want to make as much money as you did from the first one with a smaller budget. And I think it suffered a little from that. But again, I think that the cast, and also if you have a lead actor that's going to take it seriously, that kind of makes everybody else take it a little bit more seriously too. And it stuck out more as a solid B movie than a quote unquote exploitation movie for as it would
Right,
have been.
right. That's what tried to make it. Exactly.
except for the title, because I think William Marshall had a great impact on
Mhm.
the film, except he couldn't change the title because, as you said, no character is referenced as Blackula. I think maybe Count Dracula in the beginning calls him Blackula or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. And
It was
that's it. And that's it. But if
disparaging.
you didn't know, let's say you came from outer space or something, or you came from, I don't know, some other country, or
Mhm.
you wouldn't know what you wouldn't know what that means. It's such a weird title and such a exploitative title that it diminishes the film.
Not to
Yeah,
me.
well,
We we
yeah,
we we are on opposite ends of the spectrum with that. I disagree, so much with you on that. Because number one, everybody who reads horror knows who Dracula is, and the whole point to call it Blackula, so a black Dracula, it is a means of promotion and marketing to get people to come out and see the film because they know, oh, this is about a black vampire. I don't know how many other black vampire films there were prior to that were getting a lot of views or a lot of what do you call it, buzz. So I thought it was just a good marketing tool. I didn't see it the way you did.
well, also during that time there was another movie that was like 15 degrees below that, which was called Blackenstein. So, and it
Was that
was one
British?
of those ones that had, where you would see things like you could tell they were shooting day for night because the lights were not right, and you could see the booms hanging down into the frames and everything like that. So,
Mhm. So yeah, it's what I was asking. Is that was Blackenstein? That was the Bernie Casey film, was it, or who's Blackenstein?
no, that was another one that
Casey.
was one of those things that was
Doctor
so far.
Doctor Jekyll and Mr. Black, right? Bernie
Yeah.
Casey. Okay. So again, I know that there's other um, black-based vampire films. What is the one? Professor Ganja and Hess. Is
Hmm.
that is a vampire film? But there are also some vampire films that are very old films that we have black people, but they're not like the main characters. Some of those old, I don't know, but they're more like they do black people to kind of pigeonhole us into things like voodoo and zombies, and not as many black people do you see in actual straight up vampire films. I remember watching the first, um, I guess, the pilot version, maybe the first seed shows from Being Human. And if you remember, I don't know if you'll watch the British version of Being Human, but in the British version of Being Human, the vampire lord, the head vampire, originally was a black guy. And then he was replaced with this Anglo guy. And I gotta say, every change they made in their individuals, with the casting, was it was the right thing.
Hmm.
The guy, the problem they had, I thought, with the actor, the young black man in that role, was that he was very serious. That very serious kind of vampire lord, stern, not stern, but just somber, I'm gonna get you kind of demeanor. And when he was replaced, the guy, I can't remember the actor, but he's got these deep dimples, this little chubby kind of face, and I mean, he just ate that role. I mean, he just chewed the scenery, just ate that thing up. Because you look at him and he's not an individual that you would walk past and think this is a dangerous person.
Hmm.
And so it was, I think, done so much better with this person who is not just like, oh, this person's very, ooh, I don't know, this guy's kind of mean or angry, or he's going to do something to me because he's got this stern expression with the hammering my fist on the table, kind of, we're going to get rid of all the humans kind of thing. And this guy, exact same, no different. We're going to get rid of, all the humans, enslave them. But he always walked around with this smile on his face, showing dimples and doing magic tricks. It was, just wow, just a difference. But I wonder, looking back, if this young Black actor, could he have played it different? Could he have done that more, light way of dealing with the role? And if he had, what would it have been like? I can imagine, him also, doing the magic tricks and, being charming, not in a way that is overly sensualized, but charming in the sense that, it can attract maybe little children, to come to where he is. So I wonder if they'd given that other actor the opportunity to play it lighter, whether or not he would have survived in that role. Because it's not just we changed a Black guy to a white guy. It was they changed the entire structure of that role. I'm reading also in the chat where Gary's saying The Vampire was the first story to feature a Black vampire. It's also considered the first vampire story written by an American author. It was written in the early 1800s. I think I had heard about that, read about that, that story, The Vampire. And I gather, I can't remember the curator what the storyline was, but I read about it. I don't think I read it, but read about it. Has anyone actually read about it? Story of the Vampire? And how many people have read, what is the name of the, not Carmen, what is it called? The first vampire woman story. And I'm seeing it, and I know that at one point Ione Skye played that role in a film. What is it in Carmilla? Is it just a Camilla? And Camille, the role Camille, but that is like the first one of the other first, the woman vampire type character. A whole bunch of everybody there with their own descriptions of their vampires. And as we talked about in the way we touched on Interview with the Vampire, and I forgot to touch on the character Armand, who is, color, although his color is kind of drained out, but he didn't start out that way, I'm pretty sure. But so he is, an Hispanic male, and an important figure, in their storyline. So I didn't want to not, mention him, but yeah, that is a person, within this story. And it's interesting as we talk about this, and I find that, I talk a lot about the vampires who are, into the diaspora, and I guess because those are the ones that kind of, stand out to me. As I'm sitting here thinking about it, do you all know anyone who is not, a Black vampire that we can look at for the, people of color vampires or indigenous vampire stories? Because I thought about it, and again, Armand is the only one I came up with, and I was trying to think, in what shows have we seen Asian vampires? And I think, what is it? Was it Daniel Day Kim had a role in Angel, but I don't think he was a vampire. I can't think of Asian actor off the top of my head that has played a vampire when they were an Asian person playing a vampire, not somebody under a whole bunch of makeup, but that you knew they were Asian and they were being a vampire. So
There were there were some in the background in Kindred, but they never, because it was short lived. We never got to see their story.
yeah,
Yeah,
that,
Kindred had a wide range. It was a multicultural show, so you got to see a whole lot of different people that you hadn't expected across the spectrum, across everything. But because it was so short lived, we didn't get to dive into that world more.
well, how about, I mean, even like the Latinx or Hispanic um, vampires? To anybody that anybody can think of. It's okay, yeah, I remember that, or yeah, I saw them. Even as I think, things like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, when I think of Angel, um, you had, people of color, but usually they were more like on the Vampire Slayer tip as opposed to being any vampires. And I'm trying to think, I don't, I don't, can't really think of any. Can
I'm
any,
I'm finding lists, but I don't remember watching any of them. I'm trying to find the list. I had a list earlier,
is
and
that the
I'm
one,
trying to.
one I
No, I posted one about Chinese vampires in film, and I was like, oh man, I haven't seen any of these, so they're now on my want to watch list.
think?
But I can't. I'm trying to find right now. I had a list of some others.
I see the one you put Essence Black Vampires Past and Present. Black
Yeah.
Vampires. That's good. Yeah, that's then
Yes,
you have
since they mentioned the two on in True Blood.
yeah, in True Blood. I'm trying to think. Tina Wesley,
Yeah.
she was a vampire, and I think that she's the only one that I can think of.
No, there's a black guy. I can't remember the name of his character, and Kim's gonna kill me because I watched it with her and I can't remember his name. Um, Let me
I
see.
knew there
He's
was a
on.
guy.
I know he's on the list. Let me see if I can find his name.
I know there was a guy, but he was not a vampire.
He became one, didn't he?
I don't think so. Did he?
Why do you keep flashing? I'm sorry, my computer keeps sending me back. It starts out and then it goes to something else. Oh, it's a ah. My computer's not cooperating today.
Huh.
I remember Rutina, and there was one in Vampire Diaries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blanking out on her name too.
See, I didn't watch Vampire Diaries, but I know I recall seeing that there was a woman.
Yes.
Again, we have I forgot the Akasha Queen of the Damned from the Anne Rice, still that universe.
Um, Trying to think where else. Um, Shoot. You would have thought that I would have all of this memorized. Eh? But they didn't. Bonnie was the character's name on Vampire Diaries, but I can't remember which actress played her.
Mm.
Um, because I remember they had left her out of something and then lived to regret it because she held the key to something else, and I can't remember her name, the actress's name. I'm looking it up now because I can see her, but I can't put her name out.
Well, I know that as like we talked about True Blood, that I do remember Regina Wesley being a vampire, but I don't remember any guys. Otto, we watched True Blood together, and I'm trying to think. Um, oh my gosh, I cannot remember there being any black male vampires, and maybe it's been so long ago that that we And
I'm trying to think. Didn't they turn Lafayette into a vampire at some
Yeah,
point?
that's it. Lafayette.
I do not remember Lafayette being turned into a vampire, but maybe I stopped watching it by then.
I think he
Yeah,
did.
but
I can't remember.
yeah, he was turned for some fairly arbitrary reason. Yeah, but he became a vampire.
And then what happened to him?
I don't know if it's because the actor had because he had died before the series was
Yeah,
over, or if they decided to write him out for whatever reason and stuff. But he was just one of those. Okay, well, he was here, now he's gone, and kind of moving on.
yeah. Well, he was a good character. I did love it. It was a very good
Hmm.
character, and he did a good job on the character.
Yeah, he
So
was so good, and one of the things is that in the novels, he died in the first book, and they were leading that way with the first season, and it was and she's the actor who plays the one of the firefighters on Rescue 911 now turned out to be the person that got killed instead of him. But he became such a fan favorite till they kept him, kept him in the show up until he was no longer available. So
mhm.
Yeah, he was there until the end of the show, the series. He ran the whole series, but I can't remember how they got rid of him. It's been too long. I'm
Yeah.
trying to see if there's anything on the Internet Movie Database that might.
Mhm.
I do remember that it felt like the series went on a little too long, and so that's maybe they're trying
Yeah.
to introduce blood. Ha 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 ha. But Kat Graham played Bonnie Bennett on Vampire Diaries. That's who I was trying to remember. And I think she was also a witch. Was she also a witch? I'm trying. I'm looking over at Kim because Kim's my vampire expert. Oh, Donnie Yen. Kim just reminded me. Blade too. Donnie Yen, Asian.
Yep. And I didn't remember that, but again, I have to say the
I don't.
Blade 2 is like something I
Yeah.
tried to forget. Tried desperately to forget.
I'm trying to remember. I know there's somebody in What We Do in the Shadows, but I haven't seen it in so long I can't remember right now.
I was just thinking the one episode I recall when Wesley Snipes was in it.
Yes,
Yeah, so yeah, I do remember
he's
that.
part of the council.
Yes, I do remember that.
All the historical vampires in media were on the council.
Yes, that was very cute. I thought it was very,
Yeah.
I really liked that. I mean, but I have not seen that in I don't think it was back on, but I never got back into
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing about between the strikes and the COVID and everything and stuff is it destroys your continuity.
it. Yeah, yeah. And I see Nikki's back in. She didn't get to say anything about Blackula because we talked about earlier when she was in and out. So I don't know if you wanted to say anything, Nikki, about Blackula.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I was gonna say Blackula, but I had to leave. I was hungry. I had to get some dinner.
All right. Okay. So
And
yeah, go on. You could give your Blackula stories.
huh?
Give your Blackula stories. Well, why did you like it? Did you dislike it? You know, would you recommend it for people?
Of course, I would recommend Blackula for everybody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That
Cool.
was a those were good movies.
Yeah.
Ex-
It was.
except wait. Except when Blackula was like turning into like the a bat. It's this black silhouette little cartoon thing flying around New York. I was like, that don't look right.
Hey, come on, give people a break. They had production values and certain things that we're not caught up to where
I
we are
know.
now.
I
But
know.
just say that was analog CGI.
Yeah, there we go. You're doing the best we can.
And you getting all technical with it too, Cranston. Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, but I think it's I think it did two things. A lot of times, many Black people, when we were growing up, oh my gosh, horror was something that a lot of people didn't do, the devil stuff you're watching. And I
Yep.
think that it popularized, you know, Black people being able to be into horror. So I
Yeah.
thought that was really good. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the benefits of something like Blackula. And I know, again, that Otto doesn't like the title, but a lot of people, if you got a little too highfalutin with it, that they wouldn't know what it was, and they wouldn't, they couldn't make the connection. And you just want people, even if they want to come to watch it purely for the novelty, then let's give them something that leads them to the theater. And I thought it
Okay.
was
Well, when I
Uh,
was coming up, there were Black people like the thing was that they liked being scared, so they would go to scary movies. They were not that much into uh, theatrical science fiction. They would watch The Outer Limits and The Twilight Zone, but
right, right.
they preferred being scared than to have spaceships land or something like that. So
Yeah. I was looking again. We were back in chat with Gary, and he said there was Cronus, directed by Guillermo
that's
del Toro, I think. Now that I have no knowledge of. I'm going to go to IMDb and check this out. So Cronus, so what is this Cronus?
it
Is
was
this
a it was it was a it was it was a homicidal office building. That was one of the things that scared me watching it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, and it creeped me out.
a homicidal office building?
It was this some kind of alien thing that came, and it was like the size of an office building, and it had this. I don't know if it was the fact that it moved on these giant pillars that crushed everything in the way, or the fact that it had this weird kind of creaking, screeching sound as it moved along the way and everything. And I
Uh-huh.
think the scariest part of it, spoiler alert, was they decided the only way we're going to take this thing out is to nuke it. And so they had this plane with a nuclear bomb going to blow it up. And at the last minute, the scientists figured out, no, if you do that, it'll just make it stronger by giving it more energy. So now they're trying to call the plane back. But they didn't have a word for it then. But essentially, the Cronus caught the nuclear plane in a tractor beam, and they show the pilots trying to get out, and they can't. And it flies into Cronus and stuff. And of course, you see the mushroom cloud. And the only way they could show the energy being absorbed, they just ran the mushroom cloud backwards. And then the Cronus kept on its way, crushing everything in its way and everything. So, yeah.
Okay. Now I'm looking for
Yeah.
it. I'm not finding it. Maybe I'm not spelling it
It's,
correct.
no, there was
it's like Cronus or something like that.
no. There's another one that's a vampire because I think it was shot at the same time. See, Kim's my vampire expert, so I'm drawing blank. There was one that was a Spanish language vampire, but it was shot at the same time they were shooting another vampire because they were using both the sets for both films.
Dracula.
There's a 1930.
Yeah.
Kim's telling me 1931.
Yeah, I remember seeing that just recently. We were looking at Turner Classics.
Yeah.
Seeing that I can't whoever the director was, the actors using the same actors, but doing it in Spanish and in English. So I thought that was interesting. Yes. Okay, I see this Chronos thing. So this says a mysterious device designed to provide its owner with eternal life resurfaces after 400 years, leaving a trail of destruction in its path. I think this is a different thing, isn't it? I don't know. This makes it look like something looks like a giant spider thing hooked into somebody's neck. And this is the Guillermo del Toro thing. So maybe this other thing is not Guillermo del Toro, that Cronus. Or maybe that little thing that's on his neck is like a vampire. Some sort, 1992. I don't know. But it's not a black vampire. It's just a little thing. It's on your neck. I don't know. I can't. I'll say Michael B. Jordan is working on a vampire film.
Mike-
It's okay. That'll be interesting, I think.
Yeah, Michael G. Jordan and what's his name? The director from Black Panther.
Kugler.
Yeah, Coogler. And they're possible reason why Marvel's having such a hard time with their Blade, because they had Marvel, when they finally got a set script, had they're saying there's too much similarities now. So
Between what?
Marvel has, between what Marvel had finally settled on and what Coogler's doing. And because Coogler's out faster, so he,
Okay.
so yeah, they're blaming it on him.
Hmm. Okay. And it's anime Blood the Last Vampire. Whose anime is that? Blood the Last Vampire. I'm gonna look it up on IMDb. Let's see what we got. Um, because a lot of people do like anime. So if this is something that you are into, check it out. Blood the Last Vampire. It's 2009. It looks like Asian vampire story. Blood the Last Vampire, and it is looks very nice. Who's playing it? You can rent or buy it on Amazon, so they say, and you can add it to your watch list if you want to. I don't know who else has it other than them. Such a good rent or buy on Amazon. It doesn't appear to have another. It doesn't show Prime, just Amazon. So I gather if you want to see this, you can rent or buy from Amazon. Love the Last Vampire. This
Now, one at a time that I thought, well, I think they had planned on it being something more than just a one-off, but it was Queen of the Damned. And I don't know
yeah.
why at the time it first came out, I said, okay, I'll go to see it out eventually. I'll go to Blockbusters and get it eventually, but I still haven't, so it would be interesting to see if they thought about rebooting that or.
Well, I
So
know that AMC is cross connecting all of Anne Rice's books, so I have a feeling eventually they'll get back around to that one.
hmm
Because I know they have the Mayfair Witches, and they're connecting them to Interview with a Vampire and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, because I think AMC got the rights to Anne Rice's entire library.
okay.
So it'll be interesting to see if they do.
And the other one, it was a kind of an well, it's kind of like, you don't know whether you should be scared or you should laugh at it, or you should laugh at it or be scared of it for the wrong reasons. But it was Eddie Murphy doing a vampire in Brooklyn.
Yes. Yeah, and that, I know Gary also mentioned that Vampire in Brooklyn. And I mean, I saw it, and I was not. It did not, bring me all the way in. I was not, I think one of the problems with a film like that, and I know, you can't control if you don't have that type of control, but like the role of Kadeem Hardison as his quote unquote kind of Renfieldish character, the ghoul kind of character that he had, and when you try to force the comedic, kind of campiness into the film, I think that did not help it. So you could just make it into, a horror film and just make it a horror film, and just do it instead of trying to, do these other little things. I don't know if it's that Eddie Murphy was, I don't know if he felt threatened by Kenny Hardison, playing something more serious. I don't know. But I really think that it was not helpful to the film. And I think, if they'd done something more serious with him, it would have, really helped. Like when you watch, for instance, Salem's Lot, and who is it? The antique shop owner, um, that's James Mason plays, and he is like a scary little thing, He's nothing comedic about him. He's just regular doing his thing, and then when he gets scary, he gets scary. And I think I think they get scared because they have an Eddie Murphy film, and they think, well, we better put something funny in it because it's Eddie Murphy, and there should be some comedy in it. But I think that they had back and not
I
any
think
comedic.
I think Eddie Murphy's brother wrote it.
Yeah,
Charlie Murphy. I think he wrote that, and I think
yeah.
that the idea was that black people have so much to be afraid of in their real lives that they couldn't possibly be afraid of vampires.
Well, I mean,
Well,
I think
that
that makes sense to me because I think Black people generally are very spiritual in that sense. Things that are paranormal, I think we have more of a belief in it that it's real as opposed to that it's entertainment. You know.
well, the other thing is also is the actors themselves is you want to play the villain, but you don't want the villain to be unlovable. So you're going to have to try to, blunt it and, more so than playing it straight out.
Mhm. Yeah, but I mean, you have a lot of people, for instance, that's the whole issue with Blackula and creating this backstory about what happened to him. And he doesn't he didn't start out his life thinking I want to be a bloodthirsty monster. It's what he didn't do it to himself, someone did it to him. So I think when you show the backstory for individuals, and you can do that, in order to diminish this whole concept of this comedic comic relief thing that in fact makes your films not memorable. You know, because you're trying so hard to don't make it too scary or want to keep that comedic element. But you could have a classic horror piece and you wouldn't get there because you were too scared to just let go and let it be a classic horror piece. So I was thinking also about many the what is the show. I mean, again, going back to like the Buffy and Angel shows, and I don't recall there being any black vampire slayers, and military people of that ilk. But I don't recall any black um, vampires. I don't know why that is, or I mean, it just seems to me it's just easy to make a black person to a vampire. I said, oh no, 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 Angel. There was one, at least one, because the primary one, of course, was August Richards' uh, gun, his sister. Remember, his sister was converted, changed it to a vampire, and he had to, unfortunately, had to go after her. But that is the only one I can think of off the top of my head. If somebody else is another one, but I remember Gunn's sister had been converted, transformed. So that that. So I'm trying to think, and
I find it fascinating that a lot of ancient folk tales across the BIPOC areas mention vampires, but like in some instances, because salt was more valuable, salt would be they would steal the salt out of your blood type
mhm.
things. So uh
Which is also really interesting. Think about the fact that when you have things like zombies or even ghosts, that you create the what zone
yeah.
by putting salt around. So I think it's very interesting.
So yeah, we have the culture of it, but people are so taken by, oh, it must be blood, that we have to, so they say, okay, so we can't. So you mean that there's no black vampires in Buffy, or black vampires? We can't. They seem uncomfortable to do uh
I think in a way, I mean, if I may use the word, it's like ghettoization, of certain monsters that, for your black people, this either going to be voodoo, or some sort of, I mean,
Yeah.
mostly like voodoo, and even the witches. They always tie black witches to voodoo instead of just witchcraft, generally. So it's a ghettoization, I think, where you find as many black vampires and things of that ilk. I know for myself, my books, Renfield deals with, the entire, like, vampires and Renfields of all stripes, all nationalities, they're all over the world. So there are vampires of every nationality. And I know that Roxanne Bland's stories, the head of the vampire clan is not a black person, but I presume that within, I know the werewolves, they have people of all stripes. I don't know about the vampires that much, but I know the werewolves are. So, just if you look at the Slay, the anthology Slay, Stories of Vampire Noir, there are a
Hmm.
lot of stories. There, every story in there is a story where you have black, vampire related tales, individuals, with tales. So that's a good place to go if you want to start reading about, some black vampires. And it's at Mocha Memoirs Press. And I'm trying to think any other.
I just came across an article, and I don't know if we'll ever see it, but there's an Australian TV series about indigenous vampire hunters, and all the vampires were descendant from the original colonists, uh, uh, the original appropriation. No, how should I put this? The colonizers were the first vampires, and the indigenous vampire hunters over the years have taken them out, and so they find the last one who's trying to regain his empire
Wow.
because
Okay.
his name is King. So that would be interesting if we actually get that here to see their take on it, because
What's
usually the indigenous people are like the werewolves
mm-hmm.
or some other kind of mystic, as you were saying.
So,
They're not actually the vampires.
what's the name of this one?
Frostbite. Hold on, let me double check. Firebite.
Firebite. Okay. And just my, what do you call it? Shameless plug. My works are the Chronicles of Renfield. So
Yay!
check it out. Do so. And I cannot believe that we are already at the end of our time. I cannot believe it, because we could talk about vampires all day long. A lot of fun. So, again, I did. So you put this in the comments, where you put the links, or in the private chat.
Private chat.
We could put them in the comments, so other people who are going to track
Let's,
things down, who have an interest in it, that they might, want to look it up.
yeah, my computer's acting funny, so I gotta paste it into Notepad and then put it back over into the chat. Let's see if it'll let me. See
I
if I
could
can
do
do
it.
it.
I'll try. I
Let's
can
see. Connect my YouTube.
do it. I didn't know that you having issues, and you've been saying it all
Yeah,
along.
let's see if I can get it.
I got it.
Okay.
Okay, I think this will work. Let's see. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
All so these posts that she's been doing, while we have been talking. So, yeah, is it all of them? And the six.
It looks like they're running together.
Yeah,
Oh, it's because it put my ti- date stamp thing on there. So it's,
yeah. The time, you got a timestamp on each one of them.
yeah, let me see if I
Can you?
can get
I can't click them.
you.
Show.
Okay. Let's see if I can
Okay, there we go.
get it.
See, let's see that. You see it on screen.
Yeah, but it's
Let's see.
putting the Sonia after it, so it's not making it a clean link.
Ooh, I wonder if but if everybody
I
cut it
can
themselves
I
and
can
they,
put it I can put it in the YouTube thing after.
mm-hmm, or they can,
I'll do that. I'll put it into YouTube after since my
or,
computer's not being.
once we're offline, people might be able to cut and paste it themselves.
Yeah.
All right. Wow, that was so much fun. Vampires in the diaspora and beyond. So again, we talk about these things every now and then, but if you haven't seen some of these, try to pick them up. And there's some that people have mentioned tonight that I have not watched or didn't know about. So I want to try to catch up on those. It's a lot of fun, to find things that you had not ever known about in the past, and now it's a whole new thing for me. So anybody else want to say? Oh, the one thing we forgot, we did not forget, we just did not know. Last week was James's birthday. So we have to say happy birthday to James Goodrich, who used to be here, but now he's not. And in fact, he's not here tonight because he's having a birthday party. His birthday was the 17th, and so his family's giving him a belated birthday party this evening. So if he's here,
Oh,
Well,
happy birthday.
happy birthday, James.
happy birthday. Hope you're watching a very bad movie tonight.
Yeah, all right, you mean it. That's his thing. Watching bad films. All right, that's back to something the King of the Bees on our happy birthday. All right, so if there anything else that's coming up in the next week or so that we want to publicize, talk about, nobody's got anything. All right, with that said, thank you all very much.
Wait, when's our next show? I'm sorry. When our next? We have one more week. No, somebody else's birthday is coming up in about a week and a half, so I'll mention it next week.
Yeah, this is the 28th is
The
the next.
20, yes, that's why I was just doing the quick math.
Yeah.
I still have some time.
All right. Thank you very much, you all, joining us. And we have a wonderful discussion this evening. If you have anything that you all want to discuss, maybe that this, brought something out or something completely, totally different, just, email us, send us a message YouTube, online, on Facebook. Each and every one of us is there except for Otto.
Share,
And
like, and subscribe.
yeah, that's right. Do all those things. And we'll see you again here next week on the 28th in the OTHERhood. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful remainder of the weekend and good night.
Good night.
Good night.